we have a great panel here, very well spread out, parts of USA, UK, and South Africa, and SOPON, come back. So he's going to talk about Thailand, and the goal is to talk about how the business is happening in these countries, how we can connect with these countries, how you can make money. Bottom line, that's why you're here for. I know you didn't come from the tea. So who do we start with? John, you want to start today? So let's talk a little bit about USA. Now, USA last year, if I look at the numbers between USA and India, was about $30 billion in real estate sold in both directions. People from USA buying into India and people from India buying into USA. So when you're dealing with about $30 billion in business, that's a serious number. My question when I look around is, how many of you did that business? Anybody can raise their hand? There you go, at least one hand. 2 hands went up. 3? Next year when I come back here, I need to see every hand go up. John, tell us a little bit what's happening in your market in California.
So we have some statistics from the report that was just released that talks about Americans of Indian heritage. So to begin with, the Asian American Pacific Islander demographic in the United States, it's about 22.5 million individuals. It's growing at the fastest percentage. It's increased by 72% from the year 2000 to 2015. Of this 22.5 million, 4.8 are from China. That is kind of broadly known, but 4 million, not that far away from the Chinese, are indeed from India. The education component of the individuals is also very interesting. The AAPI community, compared to Americans as a whole, those between 18 and 24 years old, Americans as a whole, about 56% have some of a 4-year college degree. 73% of Asians do. Those individuals 25 years and older, 30% of Americans as a whole have a bachelor's degree or more. 52% of the AAPI community have a bachelor's degrees or more. Among the Indian population in the United States, a full 73% of the individuals of Indian heritage in the United States have a bachelor's degree or greater. Income. The median income for Americans as a whole is about $59,000. For the AAPI, the Asian American Pacific Islander community, it's $87,000, more. For Indian Americans, it's $103,821, more than almost double of what Americans do as a whole. There are a great number of students from outside of the United States studying in the United States. About 350,000 are from China, but 186,000 are from India. The next country after that, South Korea, is in 58,000. So those of Indian heritage do come to the United States and study, which in fact is one of the sources for why somebody from India might buy a property in the United States for their children to live. Purchasing power. In 2018, this year, the AAPI purchasing power exceeds $1 trillion US, and it's expected by 2022, it's going to rise to a 1.3 trillion. Of those, by far, from the countries in Asia, those from India have the highest purchasing power. It's $266 billion of that 1 trillion, 27% of that total.
Wow. Some scary numbers there, John.
Well, I think that what this means is that there is some movie that's popular now called Crazy Rich Asians that had some individuals of Chinese heritage. Mm-hmm. Perhaps it would have been Crazy Rich Asians, in fact, with those of Indian heritage.
Well, John, I'm going to ask you something, actually, and you got 15 seconds to do it. So if you were picking your wife up in an elevator and you have to tell her who you are, what you do, in 15 seconds, what would you tell somebody?
I've been a practicing real estate broker for 38 years in San Francisco. And a number of years ago, I've helped to form that association I described, ARIA. So do mostly my business in the San Francisco Bay Area, but are doing a lot of outbound business to countries in Asia.
Awesome, awesome. Let's go, oh geez, SOPON, where did you, you vanish every 2 minutes and, you know, I wandered the empty chair. Kevin, elevator speech, start with who you are.
Exactly. Well, I want to point out that just a few moments ago when I was outside, I was paid the highest compliment I think I've ever received, and somebody said, "It's obvious that you have an Indian heart." Wasn't that sweet?
Wow, look at all the girls looking
exactly.
around.
Wait,
Every girl's going to be clapping for you.
I know, so we are all related one way or the other. I'm with Sotheby's International Realty. Briefly, my team and I, we are the #1 team throughout all of Sotheby's throughout the world. We did $600 million in transactions last year, just our team. Basically, blah, 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 blah. What's more important is for you as the audience members, you know, saying, how am I going to make more money? What are my obstacles? And I tell you that what keeps me up at night, besides our current president, is, you know, we're not supposed to be political, but you know, there's a number of factors that will affect India, certainly will affect America. You know, one is the visa issues. And you say, well, why is that so important? When I started going to China, and again, I don't know if I can do it this way, my business is like that much, but 64% of my business comes from Asia. The majority is mainland China, and then India would be the second group. But that we used to only get 6-month visas and then 1-year visas. About, I don't know, 8 years ago, the governments decided to give 10-year visas. Well, why is that important? It's because before that time, Chinese would come to New York City and just go to Tiffany's, go to all the stores, and then go back home. Once they got 10-year visas, they started buying real estate. Well, President Xi can tomorrow just change his mind and saying, we're going to go back to 6-month visas. That's going to be a huge effect, and you know, it seems like we're headed in that direction. Another issue that keeps me up at night is the whole thing with Brexit. And you sit there and going, why would that affect India? Well, if the European Union collapses, it's a whole new ball game. And I'm afraid that we are going into a new age. I've been doing business in real estate for 30 years. I've seen we went through the age of recession, then we went through the age of recovery, and now we're on the age of distraction. And our government is causing distractions, throughout the world. That should be of concern to you all, because you're going to turn around, and as you are looking at your own business plans, how is all this going to affect both your local market and the international market? There's a lot of storm clouds, on the horizon, and so, that's a gloomy thought, isn't it? I apologize to all my Indian brothers and sisters, but
don't go breaking the heart. But to me, actually, Kevin, you said something very interesting. Disruptions, distractions. The way I look at it is, and I just wrote a class for global real estate, and I call it market disruptions create opportunities. So somebody's going to lose money somewhere, but if somebody's losing, somebody else is winning,
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good point. And also, what's interesting is, as I mentioned, 64% of my business comes from mainland China. 2 months ago, it completely stopped, completely. And you sit there and going, oh, is it because of currencies? Is it, you try to come up with a reason. And it dawned on me, and see, Indians are so much like Americans, the way we think, the way we buy real estate and sell real estate. Chinese, and I know I'm making a very general statement, Chinese only like sellers markets. They don't like buyers markets, which is, if you let that seep in, is fascinating because that's going to also affect your market. If you're in a market right now that's a seller's market that's going up, go after the mainland Chinese. They are your perfect buyers. They're not buying in New York now, they're not buying in LA, they're not buying in San Francisco the way they did. And so, one good thing about, let me do a pitch for NAR. One good thing about NAR and an organization or a gathering like this is that you all and we all have boots on the ground. We can pivot. We can all of a sudden find what's happening today. We don't have to wait until the New York Times reports it 6 months later. So, communicate with one another.
Well, go ahead. You can pass the mic, otherwise you'll come back on again. But I think Chinese, Indians, pretty much all Asians are born with negotiation skills the day they are born somehow. And, you put a Chinese buyer and an Indian seller, one won't buy without a deal, other won't sell without the deal. So, both are looking for deals. I don't know, they're tough negotiation anyway. We'll take it to South Africa with Yusuf. Yusuf, what's happening in South Africa and India?
Rajeev, I'd just like to say to my friend Kevin here, the guy outside was an Indian, by the way, and we're all salespeople. We say things we're supposed to be saying all the time. So just so much for the guy outside. Okay, Rajeev, look, I'm from South Africa. Haven't been in real estate for a very long time. I'm in business for the last 11 years. I come from selling hot dogs. I am an author, an entrepreneur, a family man, a businessman. And, I think I've been blessed by the Almighty, with a wonderful business. We started our business about 7 years ago. With the help of Almighty, it's become an international multi-award winning brand. We've won numerous international property awards. I'm honored to be president for the FIBCI channel for South Africa. And, we're damn grateful. And I think, when we look at, times of doom and gloom, our business started off in the crux of the world economic crisis in 2007. And we've just been growing, so thank God, and we're very grateful. As far as India is concerned, my visit to India has been very exciting. It's my second time here at the NAR. Thank you to Farouk and the Bray guys, as well as NAR committee members for having us here. And exciting. I see exciting opportunity here for all POI and OCI people. For those of you that don't know, people of Indian origin back in South Africa and every other country that qualify to live in India. I see great potential of migrating some of our family and friends. Majority of our market in South Africa with our business circulates around the Indian market. It's the industry in South Africa is worth 7 trillion rand. It contributes towards 15% of the gross domestic product. And we'd like to shift some of those people to India as well. So great opportunity. I see great developments here. Some of the developments with Prestige, Shoba, Quality Party. So excited about it, and I'm pleasantly excited to be here today. Thanks.
Good, thank you. Hope you have enough cards today.
Thank you.
Everybody's going to be looking for your card in a few minutes.
Thank you.
Vivianne, what can I tell you? What are you going to tell us about yourself first?
Hello, Raj. Well, Vivianne Swietelsky, and I'm from Miami, and I am the president of the FIBCI USA Miami Council. I also sit on the board. And before anything, I have a message from Teresa Kinney. She's the CEO of the Miami Association of Realtors, which is the largest association in the United States. And she said how proud she is that NAR India is a global partner with the Miami Association of Realtors, and that all of your logo is on every single one of our flyers and on our website. So we're very proud of that partnership.
What do you think about the market in Miami now? Are there a lot of Indians buying there?
Yes, in fact, and I want to counteract your gloom and doom over there, because Miami happens to be, actually was voted one of the happiest cities in the United States. It's also considered the second best city to create startups, especially in the tech industry, and our education system is one of the best in the USA. So we are having a lot of Indian investors.
And you should point out, if you go to Miami, there are cranes everywhere.
That is correct.
The building is just, and that's how you can tell the, I guess, financial health of a city is how much they're building.
That's correct, and also our prices from the lowest point after the downfall of the real estate industry, they've already come up 105% across the board. So prices, we've had price increases over almost 7 years, every month price increases of our property. But more than that, I wanted to address the issue of Indians coming to Miami. My partner, Joseph Hollick, and I specialize in luxury real estate and also commercial, and we've been seeing an influx of requests for investment with the EB-5 visas. We also offer we offer equity investment partnerships with returns of up 14 to 16% with national branded hotels.
What do you, I'm not the moderator, but,
Yes.
but I'll
Yeah, no worries, Kevin.
But what do you think is the #1 reason why Indians are moving to Miami?
Well, to begin with, Miami is the most international city in the U.S., so everyone feels welcome. We have almost 150 or over 150 ethnicities and 128 languages, and so our climate is similar to India. So and it's a wonderful education system. And also, let's not forget that even though we're one of the top 10 cities in the United States, globally considered a global city, one of the top 10, right, our prices are about 30 to 40% less than New York City, LA, London, Hong Kong. So we are definitely a great value for investors.
Awesome.
So I'd be happy to talk to you later on.
George was rolling his eyes earlier on some of the comments. I know UK is almost half India, but tell me what's going on with the Indian market and UK market in both directions.
Well, first of all, I thought I would be maybe the first person to mention Brexit, but you beat me to it.
Tell us about yourself also, what do you do before you do that?
You can't get away from it, but it's of course a factor. Okay, maybe a quick introduction. So I'm actually originally from Germany. I moved to England about 23 years ago, and I'm now the first not British president of the British chapter of FIBCI. So I think it just shows London and Britain is a very international place. London is clearly a world city. It's easy, any nationality, anywhere in the world. If I say I come from London, where I'm lucky enough to have the office in London, people will be able to point it out on the map. But you come to India, and you talk about Leicester or Nottingham or those cities that most people wouldn't know about. Indian people will say, yeah, my auntie, my uncle, my cousins, my daughter, they live there, they work there. There's a very, very strong old connection between Britain and India, of course. And I believe somebody told me that in Birmingham, for instance, it's the biggest Indian city outside India. I don't know if that's true or if it's just something the people from Birmingham like to say. But it just shows again the strong connection. There are Indian communities all over the Midlands, London, everywhere. About the market, okay. So in my company, we have about 1,000 offices in the UK. So if we talk about what's happening in our company, that would be a long day, but it really is usually a picture where for the last year or two, we would see a slower growth outside London and still quite a strong growth in London. And it's now at the moment that is reversed. So if you take a heat picture, now suddenly outside London, everything is actually growing quite nicely, and London is now lagging behind. And it is down to Brexit, clearly. That there are 3 Bs that affect real estate in the UK. It is Brexit, without a doubt, because especially in London, it's international buyers who buy up all the new build. Something like 80% of new build stock is bought internationally, a lot by Chinese, but also others. Some of the big five-star hotels and mega real estate is owned by by Indian families. So Brexit in a way affects London because London is seen as a commodity, like you trade stocks and shares or wheat or gold. You also trade London real estate, and you just wait for the very best moment to buy. And I think a lot of international buyers are looking at the very lowest pound rate before they jump again. But the good news is, as foreigners, if you have dollars, any other foreign currency, you already have about a 20% advantage at the moment because of the low pound. So it's actually a very good point now to buy in London.
What about mortgages? Do Indians or foreigners have an issue of getting mortgages?
No, that's actually the second B, is borrowing.
That's okay, Kevin. Come this way. I'm going to go sit there.
And the third B, if you wonder, is the budget, which will come on Monday.
I'm a New Yorker.
So it's borrowing is, of course, an important point. That's the second B, and the budget is the third point that affects the market. The budget will come out on Monday, on the 29th. And borrowing, yes, is available. Any nationality without any major checks or anything can buy in the UK. It's a very international market, and the whole world buys in the UK. And you can borrow as well. So you just have to fulfill the usual criteria and show that you have an income or other assets. But yeah, you can borrow.
Awesome. Thank you. Jenny, you're from Austin, Texas, and I think that's a very large IT market. So Bengaluru has a special connection with Austin. Big IT sector here, big IT sector in Austin. Most of the developers, when they go to USA, Austin's one of the cities, they do their road shows. Tell me, how can people here connect and do business with somebody in Austin? What are some of the ways they can do that?
First of all, I'd like to thank you, Raj, for asking me this question. I just want to give a appreciation to Mr. Farouk Mahmoud for inviting me to this conference. This is the first time I come to India, and I had a very good impression so far with this conference, with Bangalore. Not only because of the high-tech sector, so we might be able to collaborating with each other, because the warm hospitality and the energy here, I feel is great. Thank you so much. And just a brief introduction about myself. I'm originally from China, mainland China. Went to United States in 1995 as a student with a student visa, and got my master's degree in computer information system in Honolulu, Hawaii. Then I got the first job in Microsoft in main campus in Seattle. And I moved to Nokia mobile phone, doing CDMA in San Diego. Then afterwards went back to Seattle for Real Networks. So I was in the high-tech sector for about 8 years before venturing into real estate business. And after that, actually, I was picking up my old business, which was in China prior to coming to the United States, import and export. Then I started owning the manufacturing in China, making high-end architectural building products that sell to the Seattle, greater Seattle area. And so that after I moved to Austin, Texas, because of the family reason, I started, getting my real estate license and help clients, because Austin is not a coastline city, the port city as Seattle. It's not easy to do import and export. Plus, at that time, 2009, I moved to Austin. The economy was, collapsed, and they had a huge downturn. But I'm very glad because the manufacturing business gave me a great foundation to help the real estate clients, because I know how a house is built and how the building was constructed. And plus my dad is also architect and civil engineer, both in China. They don't divide actually as his age. And in the last few years, I also was very active with the organization that founded by our very own John Wang and Alan Okamoto, which is ARIA, Asian Real Estate Association America, which consists of 17,000 members across the whole nation. We have about 40 chapters. And I'm very fortunate being able to found our Austin chapter in early 2013 kickoff. And in the last 3 years, I've been serving the International Committee as vice chair 2 years, and this year is the chair. I'm just done with the job, and Raj is one of my International Committee member. Thank you so much, Raj, I'm so fortunate to have our colleagues, Johan and Raj, on the same panel. I didn't expect that. Yeah. Talking about Austin, actually, I'd like to briefly mention about Texas in general. Texas, you know, in one sentence, if any state in the United States can be independent, form their own country, it will be Texas. I'm not calling to do that because we are very self-sustained. We have everything that people need in terms of technology, in the research and the farmland, whatever industries we have it. The main sectors is in Texas is gas and oil, which is in Houston and Dallas. But for Austin is high tech. Austin, I think, really can compare with the Bangalore. We are the Silicon Hills. Other than the Silicon Valley in California, the second, third, high-tech centered area is one of them is Austin. So we are seeing rapid growth in the last quite a few years, and we have all big companies like Dell, headquarters is Austin. Texas Instrument was in Austin. It's the #1 sector, and Apple, Google, Oracle is expanding. Apple has been expanding for years. So we're seeing a lot of growth because of this, and also University Town, University of Texas is one of the best. Actually, it's the best public university in South Mississippi. And it's the international university. We have a lot of students from all over the world, including China, big body, including India. So they come to study CS, architects, gas and oil. So the real estate has been gone quite a bit because of all this. Thank you.
Thank you. SOPON, you're next.
Yes.
Before I ask you another question, how many push-ups did you do this morning?
Oh, but by the way, I'm conducting some survey. If you have a paper here, kindly write down and I will collect it. Anyone did not receive this? Yeah, maybe my friend can help you do that. First, I'm the president of the FIBCI Thailand. I like Mr. Mahmood is president of FIBCI Internationl. We also have vice president of FIBCI Thailand, Mr. Pornchokchai here, but he is an Indian. I mean, originally from India. We also have FIBCI President Mr. Sulaiman from Indonesia. Yeah. Don't forget to go to Bali, December.
I'm packed already.
The thing is, we also, in our region, we have the ASEAN Real Estate Network Alliance, where President-elect Lim from Malaysia is also here. We form 10 countries together in this ASEAN region. One thing I would like to tell you is that the ASEAN region, we have 10 countries, something similar to Europe. But the thing is, compared to India, the size of ASEAN as a whole, if it is 100%, India is 2/3, 66% only. But ASEAN, we have only 600 million people, whereas in India, you have almost 1.3 billion already. Soon or later, we'll be surpassing China in the near future. And the size of economy, you may know that India and the size of economy of the ASEAN country, 10 countries as a whole, is very similar. So this means that our GDP per capita in Thailand and other countries are a little higher than in India. So that is the matter of
Great.
fact. Last year I went to Nagpur and conduct a similar survey to this. Kindly jot down for me. And we found that Indian people, they like to buy properties in ASEAN region, particularly in Thailand and other countries. You may know that Bangkok is the most popular country for tourists, around 30 million. Not only Thailand, in Kuala Lumpur, in Bali, also very popular for tourists from around the world. That's why there are so many tourists who want to come to Thailand. And definitely in the case of China, maybe they buy around 20% of the properties in Bangkok.
Wow, that's some great numbers, SOPON.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Yeah, and also I think, but in the near future, I think maybe India, because India may be growing a lot, and we are also closer to India. In the near future, maybe the next wave may be India. So maybe you can come to Thailand somehow.
Thank you. That was some great information from all of you guys. We really appreciate you taking the time on to do the panel, and thank you.